As many of you guys know, about a week ago we got our first LEGO Star Wars 2026 leaks, and I made a whole entire video on this. You can go ahead and go watch that if you want to, but because we already got those leaks for next year, I thought I should probably go ahead and make my 2026 predictions video. And before we get into it, I want to say that I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. I'm not just going to make some insane wish list like people do every year. I'm actually trying to be realistic and give my honest thoughts of what we could get next year. I'm not saying I'm going to be right. I'm probably going to be wrong on a lot of these. I'm just giving my predictions. But starting off with the main thing on everyone's mind for next year, that being the 10th anniversary of Rogue One, I just have to straight up say, don't get your hopes up. We're probably not going to get anything crazy next year. The 2016 Rogue One wave is not going to get remade, and we're definitely not going to get anything crazy like an AT-ATC or the cargo shuttle. So any hopes you have for sets like that, just go ahead and let them go. It's probably not going to happen. However, that doesn't mean I don't think we're going to get any Rogue One sets next year. I think there's a possibility for maybe one or two. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and made a list of Rogue One sets I think we could see next year and ordered it from most likely to least likely. And the first one I have for most likely is a Death Trooper helmet. As we all know, as of late, LEGO has just been spamming the helmets. I mean, in 2025, we already got 3, and one of them was Kylo Ren to celebrate the 10th anniversary of The Force Awakens. So I think because of that Kylo Ren helmet, I think there's a chance LEGO will go that same sort of 18 plus set route with Rogue One, and we could very likely see a Death Trooper helmet next year. A Shore Trooper helmet could also be likely, but to be honest, I think there's a higher chance for the Death Trooper helmet to happen. The next set I have on here for Rogue One might sound like a bit of a reach to some people, but I actually think there's a chance this might happen, and that is a remake of the Imperial Troopers Battle Pack from 2016, the one that had the 2 Death Troopers and the 2 Stormtroopers. And the reason I say this is simply just because LEGO reused the Death Trooper helmet mold this year in the Night Troopers Battle Pack. So because of that, I think there's a chance we could get actual Death Troopers next year, and I think a remake of this battle pack in June would actually make a lot of sense. I'm not saying it'd be this exact same battle pack, the build would probably be different, but I'm just saying a battle pack that does include 2 Death Troopers. And then the next that I have on here is a midi-scale Krennic's Imperial Shuttle, and the only reason I have this on here is just because they made the midi-scale Kylo Ren shuttle this year. Now that Kylo Ren shuttle is pretty bad, and I don't think many people are buying it, so maybe that will kind of cause LEGO to lean away from a midi-scale Krennic's Imperial shuttle, but I still think there's a slight chance for this happening. I've also seen people throw out predictions of a midi-scale Hammerhead Corvette, and this would be absolutely insane. I would love for LEGO to do this. I mean, the Hammerhead Corvette is just an awesome ship. I think it has an amazing design that would work really well as a midi-scale set. However, unfortunately, I think the ship might just be a bit too niche for LEGO to do that. But at the same time, this year in 2025, we did get the Acclamator, which is a fairly niche ship. So hey, maybe the Hammerhead Corvette could actually happen. Next up, I have a TIE Striker remake. This one I don't think is very likely, but we did get the U-Wing this year, so maybe LEGO will make a TIE Striker to pair with it. It also could be another way for LEGO to release a Death Trooper next year if they don't end up putting it in a battle pack. And then for the last two, I have a Krennic's Imperial Shuttle Microfighter or a Playscale Krennic's Imperial Shuttle, and I think both of these two sets are very unlikely. However, the reason I wrote them down is because there is a chance Krennic is going to be in the $1,000 Death Star coming this year in October. So because of that, if he's actually in that set, I do think there's a chance LEGO could put him in another set in 2026, and I feel like a Microfighter or just a straight up Playscale remake of the ship would work best. However, again, I put these last because I think they're unlikely, and also we don't even know if Krennic's going to be in the Death Star or not. That's just a prediction. Next, I want to talk about the UCS sets for next year, and I think for May 1st, 2026, we have to get a UCS Vader's TIE Advance remake. I think this is arguably the most overdue UCS remake, even over the Imperial Shuttle and the Super Star Destroyer and whatever else you could name. The last and only one we got was all the way back in 2006, which will have been 20 years ago, and I just think May 1st, 2026 is the perfect time for LEGO to remake this set. They could make it like $230 or $240 and include a nice arm-printed Darth Vader, and then the build would obviously look amazing. I mean, the TIE Interceptor from last year looks really good, so if they remake the TIE Advanced, I wouldn't expect anything less. And if we don't get this set in May of 2026, I think we could see a UCS Mando Z1 Starfighter just because of the Mandalorian movie coming out in May, which would be really cool. Don't get me wrong, that's a very sleek looking ship. I think it would look great as a UCS model. However, I think out of these two, the TIE Advance probably has a higher chance of happening. Now, as for the large 18 plus set in the second half of 2026, I think this will finally be the year that LEGO brings back Master Builder Series, and I really feel like the Ewok Village is the one that makes the most sense to me, at least. They already made Cloud City, they made the Mos Eisley Cantina, so the Ewok Village is really next on the list. And also, if some of you remember, this set was actually very heavily rumored to happen this year in 2025, but then obviously that changed to be the $1,000 Death Star. But because it was rumored to happen this year, I think there's a chance that it's simply simply might have just got pushed back to 2026. Now, I'm not saying this for sure. I mean, obviously that rumor could have just been false for all I know, but regardless, I do think there's a chance that we actually could finally see the Ewok Village next year. And I can imagine it being a fairly large set, probably a minimum of $500, and obviously much larger than the original one we got back in 2013. And I could see it also including the actual indoor bunker and maybe like an ATSD or something, not just the actual Ewok Village. Really just the entire Battle of Endor as one Master Builder Series set would make a lot of sense, with lots of play features, lots of side builds, lots of minifigures, kind of like the Battle of Hoth from 2017, but obviously better, and the Ewok Village. And if that doesn't end up happening next year, I guess the Imperial Shuttle and the Super Star Destroyer are also due for a remake, which I would also be completely fine with. I would love to see a new Imperial Shuttle, even though it would be crazy expensive, probably an $800 set. But I think out of these three, the Ewok Village really has the highest chance of happening. Now, the next thing I want to talk about are dioramas. And if you haven't seen, some pretty reputable leakers are claiming that dioramas are gonna return in 2026. Nothing specific yet. We haven't gotten any specific diorama set leaks. They're just claiming that the subline as a whole is gonna return next year, which doesn't surprise me. But with that being said, I think it's about time LEGO actually makes a new Palpatine's Arrest or Anakin vs. Obi-Wan. When the diorama line first came out in 2023, I thought these two were unlikely, but LEGO has continued to make dioramas for quite a few years now, and everyone always talks about Palpatine's Arrest or Anakin vs. Obi-Wan, and it seems like LEGO has always just been kind of avoiding these two sets or beating around the bush on them. But I think for 2026, it actually makes sense that one of these has to happen. Obviously, out of these two, Palpatine's Arrest would be the preferable one for most people, and I could see it probably being maybe a $100 to a $120 set, and obviously including all those characters. But if LEGO doesn't end up making Palpatine's Arrest or Anakin vs. Obi-Wan, there are still some original trilogy dioramas left on the table. I think a remake of the Bespin Duel as a diorama could also be likely, along with other things like the Carbon Freezing Chamber or even the Wampa Cave would work really well. So again, I really do think 2026 could be the year for Palpatine's Arrest, but at the same time, there's still a lot of other options from the original trilogy left on the table that LEGO could also do instead. And then lastly, I have a few miscellaneous sets that I jotted down that I think we could maybe see next year. And the first one is a midi-scale Star Destroyer, and to be honest, it's kind of surprising that LEGO hasn't made this already. When they originally brought back the midi-scale sets, you'd think that a Star Destroyer would be one of the first options to be remade, but no, at this point, we're 3 years past that, and they still haven't made this, which is kind of strange to me, but I don't know. I think 2026, we could maybe see it. And then the other things I have written down on here are new Rebel Starfighters. I think these are long overdue, specifically the Y-Wing, the A-Wing, and the B-Wing. The last A-Wing we saw was in 2017, the last Y-Wing we saw was in 2016, and the last B-Wing we saw was all the way back in 2014. It seems like nowadays LEGO always tries their best to keep an X-Wing on shelves, as we have the 2021 model and then the 2024 model, but for some reason as of late, they've just been kind of neglecting the other Rebel Starfighters, and I think in 2026, these three really need to make a return, preferably the B-Wing, just because we haven't gotten that in the longest amount of time, but I'd also love to see a new standalone A-Wing and a new standalone Y-Wing as well. Anyways though, those are my predictions for 2026. I tried to be as realistic as possible, so let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more videos, you see on the screen right now.